And this is why there is some, I believe, actual research that shows people are becoming less creative as we are more digitally connected. Because imagine if you can have the answer to every immediate impulse that you think of, then you don't actually need to develop it very far. You don't get that chance to wonder about it and to think more and say, I really am curious about that. I wonder if it's this. I wonder if it's this. And then eventually go and do the research. You can have the very first bud of a curiosity and then satiate it immediately before it develops into anything further, or before you have any ideas about it or any real questions beyond the immediate impulse to be like, is this a thing?
The other thing, it's interesting you remind me of this, because I think this other idea was kind of hand in hand with this when I was considering this, and that is that to some degree the ability to go look up a fact on the internet deprives us of a certain type of conversation that we used to have, which is two human beings who aren't sitting in a library and with immediate access to an encyclopedia, who have to then, you can't immediately go look up. Like, let's say we're having a debate about miniature corn. Let's say, and I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
look,
miniature
we
corn.
do this on this podcast. What you're saying?
Yeah, we do. We do. But do you see?
We do. There is.
How many conversations are missed? How many creative and interesting conversations about miniature corn now don't exist because we have immediate access to the fact? Do we? And I'm joking about
And
the
you
miniature
lose
corn
your
thing, but so many
curiosity.
things. It's not just the curiosity's lost. We're losing and gaining other things. We're losing the ability to speak to one another and have conversations where neither person has immediate access to a fact to buoy or to disprove their argument or the other. It's a different type of conversation when you constantly have access to an encyclopedia. For
Do you
better or
remember
worse, I
ever
don't know.
having that kind of conversation?
Yeah. I mean, because
I can't remember having those.
Well,
because
that's-
I was.
you're not old
I mean,
enough.
I didn't have smartphone and stuff like that before I was 18.
Right.
But I just can't really remember those conversations. So I was pretty young. I mean, before 18, I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about. I was just probably better off not knowing. Huh. It is an interesting thing. I mean, that's used to be, and that is still the normal conversation in many parts of the world of people that are not, digitally connected and constantly checking things. I think that the West has a particular obsession now with, this kind of rationality and fact base, and especially when you see all these weird things of like, this may contain misinformation. Yeah, what the fuck doesn't? The entire world of humans has contained misinformation since forever. And we're still here, and we're still more of us than ever before. So clearly, no one has died. The entire species is not threatened by misinformation just yet. And I think that seems to me like the kind of the arrogance of the rational, which is a problem. That I think this culture is starting to face, the idea that theory and fact can solve everything. Well, you have theory and fact. You have your universities, you have your internet, you have your small pocket computer, and people are more confused and in some cases more misinformed than ever. So the idea that, if we just have more, information available, we'll figure it all out and we'll be this hyper rational society and all incorrectness will be gone. Wrong, because that was not actually what the problem was. And I just think it's a bit of an arrogance to think that you can engineer out that, because maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe there is something human and good in incorrectly wandering around through ideas.
What makes you, in theory, so it makes you have a stronger mind if you have to deal. Let's say you tell me some misinformation about miniature corn. And then instead of me just going to an authoritative source about miniature corn and then saying, see, look at that, which then you could say, no, that's the miniature corn conspiracy conglomerate, that just doesn't want you to know about miniature corn.
Yeah, your source is wrong.
Right. So instead what has to happen then is we have to converse with each other and use ideas of reason and logic and these other tools that we have to use
and
to
debate and rhetorical device, yeah,
in order to have that conversation. And I think that maybe one of the problems,
this is a very I'm sorry to interrupt. I get excited.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is a very this is actually it reminds me, because if you think about it, I mean, you had people founding countries writing this constitution. They didn't have, a fact checker with them, or quick, Google that really quick. This is, for the most part of human history, and in these periods too, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, all these times where they were known for the peak of human thirst for knowledge and the desire to accrue wisdom and understanding of the world and themselves, there was no computers. There were no, this may be misinformation bubbles. There were no fact checkers, on every statement. It's a strange world that we're in. And somehow we have more access to the ability to check information and confirm. And people are less curious, less able to rely on their own, ability to debate and understand and inquire. And, but here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just how things change. I do think that we lack something. We've gained something. We've gained something also. I like to try to always see both sides of it.
Well, of course,
we've gained knowledge. But it is this idea a long time ago that there is too much knowledge now. There used to be, so say in the Renaissance, whether or not this is true or not, it doesn't really matter. There was the idea that a person could understand the majority of most major topics. To become a Renaissance man, that was the idea of it, that you could understand the majority of the human sciences and philosophy and become a well-rounded individual. But
that was Da Vinci.
Partially that's possible because the world of knowledge is much smaller than what it is today. Now, when we talk about the world of knowledge today, there is a lot of trivia. There is a lot of ephemera. There is a lot of jargon that is specific to extraordinarily small scientific endeavors, but it is in the whole probably impossible to know, to be well-rounded in all such topics. So the very world of knowledge has changed now compared to what the Renaissance was and the other time periods. But I still do think there's something to, and I could be wrong, but I still do think there's something to and you're right. It's what we do during this podcast. We talk through things, speculate things. We say things that are wrong sometimes. I know I say things that are wrong. Briefly, I said that Rousseau was French and he was born in Switzerland. I just realized that.
Oh.
In a podcast we haven't even put out yet. Though he did live in France, so I'm not totally wrong. But anyway, and he did speak French. But anyway, the point is that there's something, I wonder if that's why people enjoy podcasts, because they see two people or more or whatever trying to have a conversation, trying to work things out, trying to think through things. There's something enjoyable about that very activity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to imagine that that's also an ancient activity. That's probably one of the more time-honored forms of gaining knowledge, as opposed to textbooks or lectures or even schooling. It was just humans talking to each other, sharing their information and trying to use both of their, cognitive abilities to test whether one's idea was more right than the other. There's something really, and that's also what makes us human. It's that ability. Well, I mean, you can lose that ability in some ways, which is what it is to experience a memory disorder like the amnesia this guy has in Memento, or this guy, or if you have Alzheimer's or something like that. And that's part of why cognitive decline and these problems are so frightening, is that you lose the ability to do something that is so intrinsically human.